I click on it. I think we're live now.
Hello, hi.
Yes, hi everyone. Welcome to
Hi.
another
Hi,
session.
Chichi.
Yes, hi June.
Hello.
Welcome to another session of our webinar. Let me see. Okay, just checking on the technical side. Yep, we're live now.
Thank you for inviting me. It's so exciting to be here.
Yes, it's exciting to have you as well. I've been wanting to ask you to present on something.
Thank
Yeah,
you
but I
for
guess we'll just wait for a few more minutes for more people to join us. So
Sure.
I'm just gonna do some brief introduction. So welcome everyone to our webinar today. This is our continuous effort on talking about different issues relating to aphasia. Um, just as our page. Aphasia in Malaysia. So this is our 9th webinar. Has
Wow.
been quite a few months. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's glad that we've been able to get a lot of experienced speech therapists like June today to share about different topics with us on how we can support people with aphasia on different aspects as well. So
Right.
today we will talk about living with chronic aphasia. So on the long run, so like what we say sometimes like what we say in the introduction, right? We know that um the aphasia journey is very different for all the patients. Sometimes some people can recover quite quickly, they can regain the ability to speak, but for some patients it can be a long journey. And today we're going to talk about how to keep going and stay motivated in that long journey. And I think today we've got the very experienced speech therapist here today, Miss June Ng. She's a speech therapist based in Johor Bahru. So it's good that we can get her online today. So she has been serving adult population, been working in a adult setting for 11 years. So that's been a really long time. So she's seen a lot of adults with different conditions, with stroke, aphasia, a lot of neurological conditions across different settings as well. So in hospitals, nursing home, and in home as well. So I'm sure she has a lot to share with us. So I wouldn't take up more time. I'll pass her the stage and share about her insights with us.
Thank you for the introduction, Chichi.
Oh,
And thank you
good.
once again for inviting me. Very
Our
honored to be
pleasure.
able to give. Yeah, very honored to be able to be part of Aphasia in Malaysia. And I have told Chichi multiple times that it's such a wonderful initiative to increase awareness of aphasia in Malaysia, because it is something that many people are going through, but not many people know about. And so
Definitely
I
need
hope
more
with
awareness. Yeah,
and so I hope with we hope with this effort, more people will know what aphasia is, and that people will be able to accept and be aware of the condition. Yeah. So
yes.
yes, the talk today that I'm going to give is titled "Living with Chronic Aphasia. What now?" Before we get into the details, let's have a quick recap of what aphasia is. Aphasia is the impairment of language that can affect speaking, understanding words and sentences, reading and writing. And it can be caused by brain injury, for example, a stroke, an accident to the brain, a trauma to the brain, a tumor in the brain, any neurological condition that affects the brain, especially when it affects the language centers in the left side of the brain.
Yes.
So, what is chronic aphasia? Chronic aphasia is the language impairment that a language difficulty that persists beyond the acute stage. There is no clear time frame to divide between the acute stage and the chronic stage, but usually, generally, the medical professionals go by 6 months after a stroke. So, 0 to 6 months, that would be the acute stages. After 6 months, and then we usually call it a chronic stage. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, it is now 6 months after my stroke. What now? How? What now?
Yes. Sometimes some
Yeah,
patients will get panic and they'll ask this question. So
correct, correct. That's right. Is this it? Is this the
yeah, they're like,
end of my rehabilitation? You know, what about the golden period? Doctors would usually tell, doctors will usually tell patients the golden period is 3 to 6 months after a stroke. And a lot of times in my experience, I have had a few patients who are terrified when they reach the 6 month mark because it's been 6 months and I still can't talk. How? Can I continue to improve? Why do the doctors say the golden period? What does it mean after this period? Yeah. So the question, can I continue to improve? A big resounding yes. Because in my experience, I've seen improvements happening a year after a stroke, 2 years after a stroke. Yeah. So improvements can continue to happen. But what about this golden period that the doctors usually say, this 3 to 6 months after a stroke? For me, I think that it is important, this golden period is important to start therapy. You want to start therapy
yes,
early. You don't want to delay and wait. Yeah, you want to start therapy as early as possible to make use of this golden period where recovery can be a little bit faster. Spontaneous recovery can happen. But does improvement stop after 6 months? No. All right, it doesn't. It continues to happen. And why? Why? Because of the wonder of neuroplasticity. Now, what is neuroplasticity? It's a big word, but what it basically means is that our brain has the ability, that God has made our brain to be able to reorganize, reconnect, and build new pathways. If, as you can see in the picture there, in our brain is made up of millions and millions of brain cells, and these brain cells have connections coming out of them. So imagine there's many wires inside that our brain, okay? And when a stroke happens, some wires get disconnected, yeah. But with learning, with effort, connections can happen again. So I always tell patients, it's like there's all these wires, and when a stroke happens, the wires are disconnected, but when you learn, you build new connections again. So all these connections that happen in the brain, you can build these new connections with learning. And the amazing thing is, it is lifelong. It doesn't stop. Even if you're 60, you're 70, even 80, you can still learn. Like we have world leaders who are in their 90s, as you know, yeah.
yes.
So sometimes
Like
we
my
think,
parents are still, yeah, learning how to use smartphone in their 70s.
correct, correct. So even even our parents or grandparents who are in their senior years, you still have to learn now with MCO, with all these SOPs. You need to remember SOP. You need to know how to use the My Sejahtera app. You
Yes,
need to
exactly.
you need to know how to use WhatsApp and video call, since you cannot go visit your children now. So learning happens. Yeah. Don't give up on that. Don't think that, oh, I'm old already, I cannot learn anymore. Okay. All right. Now with neuroplasticity, now knowing that there is neuroplasticity, I want to talk about something called the plateau. Now, what is this plateau? If you can see here, usually in the first few weeks and first few months, you usually after a stroke, you usually find progress happening at a at a continuous rate. It happens easy, it happens a little bit faster, and
Mm.
that's where the
The
rapid
golden
spontaneous
period.
progress is. Correct, right? That's right, the golden period. That is when the brain is repairing itself from the damage. And then suddenly, you hit a plateau, which is that flat line at the top of the hill, and you find that progress is not so easy. Progress is slower. It progress slows down, and it seems like you're stuck and you cannot climb higher. That's like you cannot climb higher. Yeah. Um, Doctors would say that, or some medical professionals would say that, that's the you've hit a plateau, and that's it. That's the best that you can go. Yeah. Um, so the question is it true or is it a myth? Is it true or false? Well, it's both. The It is true because in the beginning there is that rapid spontaneous progress, but the keyword is spontaneous. So there is that spontaneous recovery where the brain is repairing itself. Okay, and so that's why you see that faster progress. And yes, you might hit a time when things seems to slow down. But the false part, the myth part about it is that there is nothing you can do when you hit the plateau. That's the end. That's the best you can reach. Yeah, that's the myth part. Because if you look at this, you can continue to improve with focused, effortful, um, effortful effort and focused exercise towards specific goals. So even
Yeah.
years after a stroke, you can still see progress. And this is not
Yeah.
just from my mouth. This is not just from what I say. It is from what I see, as well as there are many research has been done to see if there can be improvements years after a stroke. And research has shown that yes, there can be improvements years after a stroke. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So don't give up. There is hope.
Yes. And you
Um,
have to look at the bigger picture.
Look at the bigger picture and hope, um, and don't give up that hope, because when you don't have hope and then things just, and because hope is the one that keeps you going, right?
There's a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah. Okay. So what can you do when you have reached a temporary plateau? Yeah, and a plateau, why did I say temporary? Because many times a plateau is temporary, it's not permanent. Okay. First and foremost, review your goals. Look back at Take a step back and look back at what you are working on, at what you are doing. Sometimes we can, without realizing it, we can be doing the same thing over and over again and not see much progress doing that same thing. So if that's the case, we sometimes need to sit down with our speech therapist, ask ourselves again, is whether we need to set newer, more relevant, more functional goals. Change the goals a little bit, yeah. And we'll talk more about setting new specific and functional goals later in the presentation. Also check yourself. Are you practicing daily? Are you getting, not putting in as much effort as before? Is there depression? Are there extra stresses going on in your life? Emotional stress, physical stress, yeah? Because all these things can hinder progress. Another thing you can do is try something new. So, for example, if you're working on speech, try something new. Work on writing now, or if you have been working on writing using the pen, maybe you can try doing typing using the phone now. Try something new, change the activities a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, take learn new things, hobbies, because sometimes we just need to change things up. We need to get out from the routine that we've been going through,
Yes.
and yeah, things can be, you know, pretty boring day in, day out, doing
Yes.
the same thing.
I was gonna say that. I mean, we feel
Yeah, so
boring in daily life as
that's
well.
right, that's right. And when things get boring, then you lose motivation as well, right, Chichi?
Yes.
So learn new things, hobbies. Sometimes, a lot of times when you ask patients, oh, what new thing have you been doing? Oh, nothing new, same thing, same thing only. But see, the thing is, when we try something new, it means coming out from the comfort zone to be brave and try something, because you never know if you like it if you have not tried it. You
Yeah.
have never planted a you've never planted a plant before, and so you never know if how green your fingers are until you plant something. Right?
Or the joy of growing something. I never thought I would
Yeah, you
enjoy
create
that. I
something.
did.
Especially MCO, right? A lot of people are starting new hobbies, painting, gardening, I don't know what. I see a
Cooking,
lot of
baking.
new cooking, baking, exactly. So many new hobbies coming up. Many people are being creative, learning new things during this MCO. And as a stroke survivor, you can do that too. It takes
Yeah.
effort, it takes creativity and initiative. Yeah. And as carers, we can encourage our loved one who has a stroke to go, let's try something. Let's try something new. Let's try this. Let's try that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing is to take a break, relax. Yeah, sometimes we've been going for therapy for a while, and sometimes we just need to take a break and have a holiday a little bit. Yeah, and do something relaxing. Sometimes rest a little bit. Yeah, but the thing is, don't take a forever holiday lah.
Yes.
Take a break, and then give a set time, maybe 1 month, 2 months, and
To
then
recharge.
to recharge. Exactly, yeah, recharge, exactly. And then get in touch with your therapist again and say, yeah, okay, let's get back to working on the new function, the new goals that we can set, okay,
Yeah.
and to refocus. Yeah. Okay, so that's what you can. So these are the some things that you can do when you reach
A
the
lot of different things to
standstill.
try. Yes.
Yes, yeah. Be brave, be creative, and do it.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a long journey. It's a long process. Rehabilitation takes years sometimes, and the question is how to stay motivated in this whole long process. Yeah. One way is an important thing is to look back at how far you have come. Um, and this is for carers. Take videos, especially in the beginning of their stroke journey, in beginning of their rehab journey. Take videos of how things were in the beginning. 2 months later, 6 months later, a year later. Take those videos, and because sometimes it's easy to forget. Yeah, it's easy to be focused on, oh, I still cannot do this. I still cannot do that. But
Yeah.
when
And
we see
sometimes when
how,
they are
yeah,
focused, yeah, sorry, on the little, like on the daily grind, you forget like how far you've come. Between this session and next week, you don't see a lot of progress. But if you zoom
correct.
out and see, yeah, in a
And
month's time, yeah,
yes, yes, exactly. And it's a very good point, Chichi, because I tell my patients as well, don't don't compare, don't look at, oh, how did I do last week? How did I do this week? It's too short a period. Look back at how are you doing last month compared to this month. And then how are you doing next month? Yeah. Um, so yeah, for family members, it's good. It's good to take videos and keep record. And I also tell my patients to keep their worksheets, especially if we do writing activities, and then they can see how much nicer their handwriting is, because now you have to use the other hand to write, right, most of the time.
Yeah.
And so they can see how much neater, how much nicer their handwriting is. Yeah. Um, and along the journey, when you get discouraged and you lose motivation, it's a good thing to express all those feelings, the anger, the fears, the discouragement, express those thoughts in whatever way that you can express. And for
Yeah.
carers to allow your loved one, and for family members to allow your loved one to express all those negative emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a question here actually. Adeline was asking like, how can we motivate patients who have very low self-esteem and motivation?
Mm, mm. Well, it's a good question. Well, low self esteem because of what? Yeah, and also sometimes talking through that, talking through that that low motivation, talking through that low self esteem is is not to find answers. It's not to give answers. Like sometimes family members, you want to give answers. Oh, don't do this, don't do that. You have to do this, you have to do that. It's not about the
Mm,
answers, but it's about the process of expressing that and accepting that negative emotions are part of the journey, and that negative emotions are part of the journey of moving on. But if the negative emotions are too dominant and if you dwell on it for too long, it can act as barriers and it has the potential to hinder progress. Yeah. So I would say to Aslin, find out why there is that low self-esteem. Yeah, or find out
mm,
why, the cause of. Sometimes we can try to identify what's the cause of that low motivation, and then
mm.
maybe sometimes
Think
it's mm,
she commented because of poor family support.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that could
That
be one
that's
of
a
the
yeah,
reasons.
yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because social support is a big part of our rehabilitation journey, and if if there's poor family support, then maybe sometimes we need to find support elsewhere.
Yeah,
If you see the last point, joining a support group, meeting others with the same, going through the same journey as you are, that can
we can
help.
support each other.
Support each other. That's right. That's right. People who understand what you're going through. So in Malaysia, there is NASAM, which is the National Stroke Association of Malaysia. It's a group of stroke survivors coming together, and this group is it was founded by a stroke survivor herself. Yeah, and so
And
you
also our
you
page.
yeah, and also Aphasia in Malaysia. That's right. And I think Aphasia in Malaysia will be starting a online support group soon, next month. Yeah,
Next
so look
month.
out for that next month. Yeah. So if we, we have to maybe look elsewhere to find that support. There is Stroke Survivors Malaysia, which is a Facebook group for stroke survivors. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can also look elsewhere outside of the country. If, let's say, you want to look at articles or people who share their experience, there is one group called Aphasia Recovery Connection, but this is US based. But it'd be interesting to
Yeah,
also see what
yes.
others those with aphasia go through as well, and how their
I
journey
think a
has
lot of the
been.
experiences are quite universal. They talk about like, what are the difficulties that they face and then their journey of seeking therapy, seeking employment or support.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that's right. So I hope I answered your question, Aslin. Okay, moving on. Another
Yeah.
way to stay motivated is to understand what you are doing, what you are working on, and why you are working on during therapy. So instead of
Yeah.
just doing it without knowing, well, why am I doing,
Because your
just because,
therapist asked you to do this.
yeah. Uh, ask your therapist, why am I doing this? What for? What exactly am I doing? Why am I doing this? Because when you know why you are doing something, and then you will, oh yeah, 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 I know it's important to do this, and I want to do it because I know what am I reaching. I know the goals for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And if you don't understand, keep on asking your therapist because they want you to know as well why what you are doing and why you are doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
And another thing is to have small, clear goals. Um, when we have a big goal, like I want to talk again, it's very vague, like talk what? And it's very big. Yeah. So have small goals like I I want to be able to say to greet my neighbors again because you used
Mm.
to greet your neighbors every time you see them. And so that small goal of I want to greet my neighbors again every time I see them. So that greeting of, oh, sudah makan ke? Hai, apa kabar? Sudah makan? Something like that. And then work towards that small goal. And then you can see progress. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the title of our talk is Living with Chronic Aphasia, What Now? I'm going to make a little changes. I'm going to make some changes to the title, Living Well with Chronic Aphasia, because we just don't want to live with aphasia. We want to live well. Okay?
Yes.
And not what now, but what's next. We have things to look forward to. Yeah. So living well with chronic aphasia, what's next? And what does living well mean? It means living with aphasia the best way you can. It is a long journey. It is a journey of not just improving, of not just recovering and improving, but also a journey of adapting to the changed self. Yeah. The fact is that a stroke happened and you cannot undo it. Um, you cannot wish it away. So a stroke happened and things have changed. And so a big goal is to adapt to those changes, not just for the patient who has suffered the stroke, but also for the people around them, their family
Yeah.
members, their friends, um, yeah, people around them as well. It's everyone has to adapt, and make that the end goal. Make that the end goal, and how you're going to adapt well to this change self. That's the end goal. Yeah, it's transitioning from hoping for a full recovery. I want to go back to my previous self. It's transitioning from hoping for that to thinking about ways and reflecting on ways of coping with and managing a lifelong condition. Um, some may regain their ability to speak again, but many will have to live with some degree of language difficulty. Yeah, improvements can happen but there may be certain degree of language difficulty still going on. Yeah, and
Mm.
it's it's finding ways of coping with that, of managing that. At the same time, we also want to live a life that have meaning and purpose, to be happy and to still be able to enjoy things. Yeah, however small, however little things, we still want to enjoy things, and this is what we want in life. And
Yes.
yes, we talk about rehab as in, oh, I need to get better, I need to get better. But in life, the end goal is to not just recover, but to be able to like to have meaning, to have purpose, to be happy, to be able to enjoy things. Yeah. So don't just look at this as just recovering aspect, but look at it as a whole. Yeah. And how you want to live your life, and you want to live your life the best way that you can.
Yes.
Okay. Before I go on to what to do, or how can we live with aphasia the best way we can? How can we live well with aphasia? I want to talk about a little bit about what not to do, what to avoid. Yeah.
Yes, important to highlight.
Yes. So one big thing that we want to avoid is to get into bad habits of learned helplessness. What is learned helplessness? Learned helplessness is happens when you are so used to not being able to do something, having people do many things for you, and so that mindset of I cannot do it becomes set. It becomes a mindset
Yes.
that I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I think that ties in with our question just now also of low self-esteem and low confidence. It may be this a little bit of learned helplessness, like I can't, that mindset of I can't do it is there, and so
Yeah.
it affects confidence and
Yeah.
you
Especially
feel
like
like you
probably in
cannot do
the
anything.
in the early stages when they're having a lot of difficulties, then they sort of like give up trying because they feel like, oh, like I can't do this, and
Yeah,
got used to having helps.
yeah, and that's why that's why this is very important for family members, for carers to take note of, because being too dependent on others can become a habit. Yeah. And so we want to start not we want to start not when they are better, but we want to start right from the beginning, right from the hospital. Yeah. When your loved one is in the hospital, yeah, there's a lot of weakness, feeling very tired, there's a lot of difficulties, and those things that you cannot do. But small things, we want to empower that person to start doing small things on their own. Something as simple as, I always tell my patients, something as simple as wiping your own mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't do everything, don't wipe, or don't do everything, but just give the tissue to the patient, to your to the person who has suffered a stroke, and you just encourage them to wipe their mouth. And a lot of times, this is something that they can do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or even feed themselves with like the weak hand, even though like they might
correct,
spill a little bit, but they can do it.
correct, correct. And so your role there is to provide that assistance and that support. Yeah, um, start with things that they can do, and then it will boost their confidence. And you start little by little empowering them that you can do these things, and then you take away support, you don't help so much, and then you find that they actually can do a number of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very relevant in our society, our Asian society, where we want to do everything for our loved one. We want to provide and prepare everything for our loved one. Food is there right in front of them when it is time. The medicine is placed on their hand. The cup is given to them. Everything is prepared and done for them. Yeah. So this is for the carers. Take note about this. Another thing is the habit of not trying to talk, of being inactive. Okay, this is what I sometimes hear from family members. Oh, he's lazy to talk lah. So when they use the word lazy, I I'm not a fan of the word lazy. Yeah, so I will tell them, no, it's not. We want to try to avoid using the word lazy, because when it is difficult for them to speak, it is very frustrating. The connections are not built yet, so the words can't come out. It is not being lazy that he's not talking. It is the aphasia. It is the problem of that aphasia.
Yeah.
But one one thing I also tell my patients is that is not an excuse to stop trying. Because it is difficult, it is not an excuse to stop trying. And and one thing I tell my patients before they get discharged from the hospital is when you go back home, don't sit in front of the TV the whole day.
Yes.
Don't don't lie down the whole day, because I mean, it's very understandable. Now there's nothing much that you can do, especially if the stroke is a bit more severe. There's nothing much you can do. So you end up watching TV the whole day, or lying down the whole day. Although it's understandable, but the problem is in the long run, being inactive becomes a habit. And then you have another problem, because once a habit sets in, it's not so easy to break that habit of being active again. Okay,
It's
so
like
you want
how
to, from the
hard it is.
beginning, right from the beginning, you don't want to get into the habit of being inactive and not
Oh,
doing anything. Okay.
yes. That's like me
Uh,
trying to get into the habit of exercising, but very used to not moving.
yeah, and it's tough to break the habit. So from the start, get it right from the start. Don't get into the habit of watching TV the whole day or watching video on the iPad the whole day. Okay, don't want to do that.
Yep. So now we
And
know what not to do.
yeah, and don't let, without realizing, sometimes we just let time pass without without meaning, without purpose. So be conscious of how we let time pass. We don't want to just let time pass and then day after day after day there is nothing to look forward to. Okay. All right, so that's what not to do. So let's get into what we can do to live well with aphasia. As I mentioned just now, setting clear functional goals. Okay, the word functional, it's a more therapy term, but what functional means is it's like relevant. Set goals that are relevant to you as a person. Okay,
Things that you can use every day.
correct. Things that you can use every day. That's right. So, but before we can set those goals, you need to identify what is important for you. Is it your family? Is it talking to your grandkids? Is it your friends, your Yamcha friends, your mahjong kaki, your market kaki, your neighbors, your pets? Tell your you want to tell your pets, you want to tell your Spotty to sit down and to keep quiet and to don't bark. Is it about helping others? Is it reading? You want to get back into something that you enjoy doing before, reading? When we talk about reading, it's not just reading a book or reading the newspaper. Nowadays, everything is online. So reading Facebook articles,
WhatsApp
reading
text.
WhatsApp texts, reading um, reading the news online. Now people hardly read the newspaper anymore. Reading news online, finding out what's going on in Malaysia, finding out what's going on in the world, especially now with COVID and then the politics situation and all that. So, it's important to you. You want to keep up to date with all these things. Yeah, certain hobbies that are important to you. And why I say you have to identify what is important to you, because you are one of the expert in your care. As a speech therapist, we may be an expert in aphasia, and we may have experience helping with aphasia, but we are not an expert in your aphasia and your experience of as how you experience it. All right, you know best what difficulties you are and what you want to work on. And if you don't provide us with that information, that input, and that feedback, it is it is not easy to identify goals that you want to work on. So if those are goals that you don't want to work on, and then therapy will not be so effective because you don't see that it's important to you. Okay,
Yeah.
therapy is always more effective when you're working on something that is important to you.
That
Okay,
you
and
want.
that you really want deep down inside. Yeah. And another expert in the management and the care is your carer, because your carer is an expert of caring for someone with aphasia and living with someone for aphasia, and his or her input is equally important and necessary so that therapy can be effective. And so we want to all work together. Yeah, be an active part in your rehabilitation. Be an active part in your therapy. Okay. All right. So some examples of clear functional goals, relevant goals. We share a little bit about some of my patients. I have a patient who always who will need to put on his dentures before his lunch, before his dinner, before eating. He will need to put on his dentures. So before that, his wife knows that he needs his dentures. So before every meal, she would bring the dentures and prepare the dentures for him. So what we identified was, it's something that's important to him and he wants it. And we worked on him saying the word gigi, saying the word gigi. So now we have come to a stage where he's able to say the word gigi by himself whenever he needs his dentures. Yep.
Yay.
So it's a two-way thing now. It's not, he's more active in being able to ask for what he wants. Yeah. And so why this is functional? Because he needs it. It is specific because not everybody needs dentures. So if they didn't tell me, I wouldn't know that that's what he needs. Yeah. So they told me that, so I was able to help them provide this goal. Okay,
Yeah.
another example is I have a patient who has a son living in another state, and they, because of MCO, they video call every week, a few times a week. And so what we worked on was certain lines, certain things that she can say to her son, because before this, it's a very one-way thing. The son will be asking questions, she will be maybe nodding and just answering. Yeah. So we worked on her asking questions to the son. And she has a granddaughter, and so we worked on her asking questions to the granddaughter. Have you been a good girl? Did you listen to your parents? How was school? Can you show me your dance? Because the granddaughter loves to dance. Yeah. And
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah, and so it becomes, from a one-way conversation, it becomes a two-way conversation. Okay, so these are functional goals that we can work on. And bear in mind, and you want to work with your speech therapist with all these goals, and bear in mind, these goals can change. Yeah, goals can change. So, for example, if you have taken a break, remember just now we talked about taking a break. You have taken a break, or even maybe discharged from therapy. Therapy say, okay,
Mm.
this is the last session. Then maybe 1 year down the road, the next 1 year down the road, you suddenly have a new grandson, or 1 year down the road, you joined,
You
or
found a
you made
job.
found a job, yeah, or you made new friends in the park or something like that, and now you have a new goal. So even though it's been 1 year, you have something new to work on. Get in touch with your therapist again, set an appointment again, and tell them and work at these goals again. Yeah, and that's improvement. So bear in mind that sometimes at the end of therapy, when you say, okay, this is the last session, it doesn't mean last
Forever.
forever, but you can keep in touch with your therapist, and work on new goals whenever it comes up. And this is a note for speech therapists as well, that it is important to, in a sense, leave this option open for your patients. Even though it's the last session, leave this option open and let them know that they can come back for therapy whenever there is a need, or whenever they identify that they want to work on something new. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Another tip in your journey to live well with aphasia is to identify strengths and to use them. Things might have changed, big changes. Yeah, things may have be different now, but you are still you. The person you are before is, you is who you are still, and we don't want to just look at what was lost, but we also want to open our eyes to your strengths as a person. So what are yours? What are your strengths? Are you friendly? Are you chatty? You used to have many friends before. Are you hardworking? You used to work hard at work, at your job before, and bring that strength now and work hard at your therapy now. Use those strengths. Yeah. Remind yourself that I used to work hard before. I want to work hard now as well. Okay. Are
Yes.
you a determined person, or in other words, are you stubborn? Sometimes we have patients that are stubbornly not wanting to do anything, but that can be a
Yes, yes.
strength. Yeah, but that can be a strength. Use that determination to work on the difficult things, and that requires a lot of determination. Yeah. Are you a fun person who loves to joke? Yeah. Have a good sense of humor. This is so important because we need to be able to laugh, and we need to be able to find the humor in things to avoid going into depression. Yeah, we need to have a good sense of humor, especially when trouble comes our way. Are we affectionate? We used to be an affectionate person before. You are still that, and you can show affection in many ways, and that builds relationships as well. Yeah. You love playing with kids. Are you religious? Yeah. Do you have good memory? Are you good with directions? Are you good with money, with numbers? Are you tidy, clean? Yeah. So all these things. Are you good at encouraging others? Do you listen well? Do you give good advice? Do you have green fingers, good cook? Yeah. So sometimes this is especially for carers as well to to re, to look out for this strength and to remind our loved one that, hey, these are your strengths, and we want to use them now. And for family members to also create opportunity to bring out this strength. You want to bring this strength out so that you can use them, and to remind them that you still have you have not lost everything, and so that your loved one who has gone through so much loss can find their sense of self again.
And
Yeah.
confidence.
And confidence, that's right. So for family members, it's good to keep an eye open and to observe what are the strengths are and to use them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this next part about social engagement and participation, why it is important in living well with aphasia, because especially with aphasia, the isolation and the loneliness is very real. Studies have shown that the rate of depression is triple for a person with aphasia compared to someone who went through a stroke but has no aphasia. So for someone
Yeah.
who went through a stroke and has aphasia, the rate of depression is triple. And the big part of it is because there is that lack of social participation because of the language impairment. And also research has shown that the lack of social support has been linked to significantly poorer health. That means there poorer health, meaning the physical health, and which can lead to a second stroke, because when you have poorer health, it can sometimes lead to a second stroke, and we don't want that. Yeah. And social engagement has been identified as a key thing to live well with aphasia. All right. So, as we talked about just now about using your strength and setting goals, this is a big goal that we want to work on. So, work at this goal together with your speech therapist to get back to social participation. And the quality of engagement is more important than the amount of interaction. What I mean by quality of engagement is during that interaction, you feel understood, you feel respected, connected. You have good rapport, means you get that person and that person gets you. It's a relaxing engagement. It's fun. Yeah, that is more important than how many words you say, how long is your sentence, how many people you talk to. Yeah, and how we can build quality engagement is also by sharing things that we have in common. And that's how we build relationships, right? Sharing things we have in common, sharing interests that we have in common, telling each other stories, or maybe gossip or what,
Yes.
politics stories or whatever. Yeah, that is how we build relationships, and that's how we form bonds. Yeah. Okay, and so it's not just about naming this, naming that. Say, I can say how many words, missing words, but it's about all these relational issues. And as speech therapists, we want to focus on getting the patient back to social participation. To keep that in mind as we plan therapy, that is not just about improving the language impairment, the language function, but also to support the patient uh, in everyday communication. And I'm taking this also. I'm also taking this from the LPAA model, which is the life participation model. Yeah. And a big part of the LPPA model is also to train communication partners, to train family members on how to support conversation and how to support communication with the impairment. So I have had patients who we did a lot of training, like with the wife, how to tell stories or how to talk about things, not just ask this, ask that, ask this, ask that, but how to talk about things, how to share stories, how to share what is the neighbor doing, or how to share how how is your son doing in another state or what, to share stories, using visual, using writing, using gestures. Yeah, I also had patients who brought in their friends. So a very good friend came into the session and we explained and we talked about supporting communication, and it was helpful because it helped the communication go on instead of stuck here, stuck there, stuck here, stuck there. It made the conversation flow. Okay, and yeah, this is one thing I also want to highlight, that sometimes as speech therapists, we can be so focused on just improving the language, but we also want to remember to look at recovery from a whole person perspective. So that
Yes.
includes sleeping well, eating well, healthy diet, yeah, healthy diet, because you want to be healthy, you want to take care of your health as well, yeah. Exercise after a stroke, just because you are weak on one side doesn't mean that you stop doing exercises. The heart needs to be strong, you see. Yeah, do relaxing activities, laughing, and I've mentioned laughing a few times because laughter is so important. Yeah,
The best
taking your med,
medicine.
yeah, that's right. Taking your medication as well, the one that the doctors ask you to take. Keeping social interaction going, keeping your life moving, talk, learn, engage, explore, and live. So look at recovery from a whole person perspective, not just I need to make my legs stronger again. I need to speak more again. But there's many other things that you need to you need to remember as well. Okay. And lastly, about cultivating positivity. It's very easy to say, don't worry, be happy. Don't think about all these not nice things lah. Think about don't think about the negative things. Don't think about. Hi Chichi, did we get a glitch
Yeah, no,
somewhere?
no, no. Yes, sorry about that, but I've got your
It's
slides
okay.
back.
Oh, we're back on. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so Yeah, so I was saying it's easy to say, don't think about the past anymore. Think about, don't think about all the not nice things anymore. Yeah, it's easy to say that, but the thing is, the negative emotions are real, and we want to acknowledge all those things. And so, before I get into the slide, let me go to the next slide first. I like this phrase: looking back, looking around, and looking forward. As I was researching about living well with aphasia, I came across this phrase from one of the journal articles. Looking back means reflecting on your past life, because it is your life. You have lived that life. It happened. Yeah. And processing the loss. It's okay to talk about and process through the loss that you have gone through. Sometimes, as family members, we don't want to trigger. We don't want. We are scared to trigger negative emotions. But sometimes it is healthy for the negative emotions to come out and to be expressed so that you can move on.
Yes.
Okay, so don't be afraid to let the big emotions out. All right, it's okay. But once it's out, and then we can move on. Also, looking back at remembering how far you have come from the beginning until where you are now. Okay, looking around. Looking around means looking at the support that you have, looking at what you have now, looking at things to be thankful for now, what you are working to improve now, looking at your feelings, your struggles, yeah, and looking forward to personal growth, how you can grow, to new things that you can do, and to things to look forward to. So I like this phrase because it talks about looking at three directions. Yeah. A lot of times we tend to just look back and we forget to look around and look forward. Yeah. So we want to also remember, look back, look around you, and then look forward. Yeah. And going back to cultivating positivity. Why I say cultivate? Because it requires persistence and effort. It doesn't mean that, oh, I want to be a positive person and I'm positive now. But every day you have to choose to look at the positive thing and find the fun, the sunshine, the smile, the small things. Learn to laugh at yourself, laugh at the small things going around at home, and find things to be thankful for, because it's 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 impossible to be I mean, it's hard to be down when you are thankful for something. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to end with a quote. This quote is taken from an article written by Carly Davy, whose mom Jen suffered a stroke, and she has this to say, that it may not be possible to get all your words back after a severe stroke, but recovery is so much more about confidence to communicate in new ways by any means, and to be understood and supported by the people around you. I've added a link. I've added the link to the article here. So if you have the
Mm-hmm.
time, go check it
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, we can
and
post it
take
like we can post leave in the comment section the link in
Sure,
case people
sure.
can't read it.
Yeah. And yeah, remember that recovery is so much more about that confidence, and and that moving forward and living well with aphasia. So just want to end with a word of encouragement to go out there and live well with aphasia. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us today, June. It's
Oh,
very
thank
inspiring,
you.
and yeah, I hope it gives people like a lot of different ideas to try different things. Like what you say, take a break or try different things, recalibrate their goals. There are just
Yeah,
many different ways
yeah,
to keep them going. I'll
correct.
just check if we have any new questions. So if any of our audience you have questions or any comments, can leave it here now. Asmin had another question. Can you see it? Oh, maybe
Sure.
just say thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mei, for
for
tuning in.
tuning in. Yes. uh, I think Asmin was asking like how, like what is the interval for therapy usually? um weekly, monthly, or I mean it can differ, but just
Yeah,
yeah on your side.
yeah. There are a lot of factors. Research has shown that intensive therapy is better than therapy that is spaced out. So, first and foremost, after an assessment by the speech therapist would sit down with you and talk about what you all want to work on and how intensive therapy would need to be. But it also depends on accessibility and financial means and how many slots that the how many available slots are there and all that. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, so a lot of
Especially
different
in
factors.
correct. So it would be best if it is during an intensive rehab phase, then you have 3 times a week, 2 times a week. All right. But if 3 times a week and 2 times a week is not possible, then I would give at least once a week. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Mm.
All right, let's see if we have any other questions. While waiting for that, I might just share about our upcoming events because we have some things planned out. Let me just put this up. So I'm just putting up my screen. Alrighty. So in another fortnight we'll have another webinar. So we'll talk about community group that June mentioned just now as well on how people with aphasia can connect and find support in the group environment. So they might find friends they can connect with and share experience and provide emotional support or share about what works for them. So
Mm.
that would be by Raymond. And I think that is like we're slowly like building up. So we talk about like, um, going on with the aphasia rehabilitation journey in the chronic phase. And then we talk about how we can do that in groups. And then we will have our first online aphasia group for the year. So we'll post up more details and we hope that our friends with aphasia can join us for we're looking at a more casual chit chat and connect session. So I think that will be fun. I hope more people can join us. We will post up more details about that soon. Right.
Sounds exciting,
If,
Chichi.
yeah, hope you can join us as well. We'll see how we can make this work.
Sure.
All right. I don't think we have any other questions, but like our page is just around. So if you need information, you can, yeah, well, someone express interest in our support group. So make sure you like our page and stay tuned for the information. So yeah, like our page is here. You can look at some of the informations we have in the album, some things that we share, and then also sorry, I kind of lost my track there. Yeah, yeah. So like, if you have any questions, you can just PM us, or if you have stories to share as well, we are always here. So you can just connect with us, and if you're interested and want to find out more, you can just like our page.
And share the page with your friends.
Yes, yes. So anyone that you think might benefit from this, that would be great. So I think that is all from us today. Thank you so much, June, for taking the
Thank you,
time
Chichi, for
to share
inviting
with
me to
us.
come. Yes.
Yeah,
I
I'm
had
glad
fun.
to
It was a
see.
blast. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely good to hear sharing from you, like from your patients on all the different insights. And I love the quote that you share as well. So good to see positive responses from the audience as well, and hope to see you again.
Thank you. Yes, me too. Have a good night,
Yes.
everyone. Yeah.
Yes, have a good night, everyone, and a early Hari Raya wish.
Yes.
Yes,
Selamat Hari Raya.
yes,
And
Selamat
happy
Hari
Mother's Day.
Raya.
Mother's Day is tomorrow.
Oh yes, yeah, happy Mother's Day to you too, June, and to all the mothers online. Yes, yeah, you
Right.
see, fun reasons to celebrate every day. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we hope to see you around. Bye.
Bye.